name is Frederick. Welcome to Wild Horse Rides. Today we are going over academic papers.
Picture it. You have to take an elective or class which has nothing to do with your major. And yet, you are forced to write a 25 to 50 page thesis about someone else's research. You are given ridiculous word and page counts and asked to use at least 10 scholarly journals or books. It goes against everything you stand for, binding you in the chains of citations and works cited lists. You couldn't possibly be creative with a research paper, right? Wrong. You can add your special touch to any type of writing. Don't be daunted by word counts or page counts, and don't be overwhelmed by the dozens of sources you will have to obtain. Simply follow these steps, and your research paper will flow as easily as any short story or novel.
Choose a topic you feel strongly about.
You are far more likely to succeed if you select a topic that is meaningful to you. Most writers tend to have more knowledge of topics that have personal meaning to them. It is easier to motivate yourself to write a 20-page paper when it is something you care about. Picking a topic that is familiar to you will narrow the scope of your paper, in turn, making it more specific and legible. You won't be inclined to ramble on and write vague paragraphs. Professors and teachers can tell whether or not you care about a subject. It is obvious in your writing, as good writing is never forced. In some cases, you may not be able to choose your topic. In these cases, when a professor or teacher provides everyone the same topic, try to find a way to make that topic relevant to you. For example, if a professor asks you to write about the current state of education, you can easily spin the topic and make it yours. If you are a minority student, you might explore the inequalities which are inherent in schools with a larger population of minority students. If you are interested in tech and computer science, you might write about burgeoning technology and how it has had an effect on your own education. Owning a topic adds depth to your writing because you can draw on your own experiences, not just the facts presented in scholarly journals.
Find relevant, up-to-date articles that interest you.
Not all scholarly journal articles are the same. Try to use more recent sources. There are some studies which cannot be reproduced due to ethical concerns or lack of funding. In these cases, you might refer to older research to add background to your paper. Otherwise, it is always good to use more recent work. Researchers are always discovering new trends and conducting more detailed studies, which builds off older work. Newer papers tend to be easier to read and more relevant to everyday life as they are written with today's audience in mind. Find articles that fit your specific subject, even if you have to bridge the gap between them. If there is no current research on your topic, use any relevant articles to bolster your viewpoint and explain the mechanics behind your thought process. Ask a librarian to help you narrow down your search. Librarians are often a forgotten research resource. Librarians are familiar with many sources, including data warehouse and electronic journals. Librarians often receive regular training on new technology and search engines, which you might not have received previously in your educational career. Most librarians are willing to help others learn and will even make appointments with you to go over your research and find better sources. There are even librarians which specialize in different topics. Larger institutions might even have librarians for every subject. Some educators might choose to supply a set of articles which every student must use for their papers. Don't be deterred by this obstacle. If anything, it should make it easier to narrow down exactly what your educator is looking for. You can use your educator's selection choice to determine their personal bias and write a paper which agrees with their viewpoint. A bias is a preference towards something or someone. That doesn't mean you have to agree with all the material presented. You can offer your own input and showcase your belief. However, educators are still human beings and they will have a natural affinity for work that agrees with their worldview. They tend to be less critical of your work, which might indirectly result in fewer point deductions.
Handle each section individually to reduce your stress.
Follow the guidelines of your educator. Map out your paper and identify what elements are necessary. You will likely need an abstract, an introduction, a literature review, and a conclusion. If you are actually conducting a study, you will need to add sections on how you collected your data and explain the results. Handling each section individually will reduce your overall stress. As long as you are familiar with your topic and theme, you can always tie everything together once each section is completed. Go ahead and put together your citations and works cited list before diving into the articles. Programs like Microsoft Word and some reference websites can actually store a running list of your sources. You can then insert these citations and lists when necessary, instead of scrambling to do so every time you have to quote an article. If possible, print or copy your source materials and scholarly journal articles. For each paragraph in the article, write at least 1 to 3 sentences summarizing the information provided in the margin of the pages or beneath the paragraph. You can also highlight important quotes or data trends which you would like to include in your paper. By the time you finish this exercise, you should have several pages of summary for your literature review. You won't have to keep going back and forth to the source material to try to freehand your summary. Simply read the annotations and type the summaries you have written. Repeat this for each scholarly journal article and you will have half of your paper done before you even add your own conclusions.
Proofread your work before submission.
Just because you are writing an academic paper doesn't mean it has to be boring. Use varied and creative sentence structure to liven up your work. Join the individual sections you have written with strong transitions. This not only adds to the word or page count, it also makes your paper stand out from the confusing piles of summary typically submitted by other students. Use these transitions to tie together all of the reference articles and display the overarching theme of your paper. Have a friend help you proofread or visit your campus writing center or tutor. Regardless of whether or not you are a strong writer, it helps having a second pair of eyes. This is especially true when dealing with lengthy research papers. It is often hard to notice some of your own mistakes. A second pair of eyes might catch these small mistakes and reduce your chances of point deductions for grammar or spelling errors. Most college campuses have a writing center which provides these services at no cost to you.
Proofread your work before submission.
Double check that you have met all of your professor's standards and expectations. Some point deductions may occur if you deviate from their patterns or don't follow the instructions. If any of the instructions confuse you, contact your educator prior to the due date and ask for clarification.
Thanks for watching. If you liked our video, please like and subscribe. And if there's any topic you want us to cover, please leave it in the comments below. Thanks again.